So do you like link those together so you can operate it under one platform, or you have to like have two windows?
Are you talking about the streaming or what?
Yeah, streaming and
Link.
Meet, Google Meet.
Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm doing that.
You have to
streaming.
like have two windows.
Yeah,
I
I'm doing
see.
that. Talking about the streaming.
Okay. So I closed the other one because then I could hear two sounds. So I'll just ask you to like, if I have any questions that come through, I'll just ask you.
Yeah, hi everyone. You're welcome to the special broadcast this evening. It's 6:47 p.m. in Nigeria, and those joining from the West African countries, you're very much welcome to the special edition of monthly webinar. And today we have a special guest that will be demystifying. Yeah, we have a special guest that will be demystifying all the issues around the integration of AI in assessment. So wherever you're joining us from this evening, I would like that you drop your location in the chat, wherever you're joining us from. If you are there, you're excited to be on this broadcast today, please drop it in the chat. Let's hear from you. Let's know where you're joining us from to be able to address this properly. Just put your name there and let us know, okay, I'm joining from Nigeria. I'm joining from Lagos. Be specific about the state you are joining us from and your country. So I'll be waiting. Drop your location, your name and your location in the chat. Yeah, our guest is actually excited to be a part of this, and I'm super excited to also have him on board. He has actually put in a whole lot to ensure that we have this wonderful session we'll be having together today. So feel free to drop your name and your location in the chat. Wherever you are joining us from, let's have that straight up in the chat. Your name and your location. We're preparing for the integration of AI in assessment. AI and assessment. And we are talking about assessment in the age of AI. Assessment in the age of AI. That's a very critical discourse, you know, something we've got to really pay close attention to. And I'm glad we have an expert in the house to take us further on this discussion. Earlier this week, I saw a post on a global AI in education group, which I'll be sharing as we start out with our conversation this evening. Yeah, drop your name and location. Thank you. All right, so I can see Dr. Philip Ajibola Bankole. That's from Lagos. Thank you, Dr. Philip, for joining us. So we have someone from Lagos. Who else is there? Who else is there? Who else is there? Dr. Philip Bankole, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Feel free to drop your favorite emoji also in the chat. If you're excited, just pop it, pop it, pop it, pop it. Okay, so I'm seeing someone else here. My name is Imikon. Okay, Imikon. He said he's joining from University of Abuja, where he or she lectures. All right, good to have you. 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 Yeah. So, Wells, feel free, just drop it in the chat. Let's know where you are joining us from. Let's know where you are joining us from. We want to see. You're excited. Dr. Esther Obiru from Asaba Delta. Good to have you, Dr. Esther. Oh, Yeri Dereti Olua from Oyo State, Nigeria. Amazing. Good to have you from Oyo State. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Happiness Chuku, joining from Port Harcourt. Good evening. Good to have you. Good to have you. Please share this stream. We are starting straight up at 7 o'clock. You can see it's an amazing speaker that we have tonight. So please feel free to share it with your friends, your colleagues. Let them join this stream. 7 o'clock, we are going to start out, and it's going to be amazing, amazing. We have a speaker from George Mason University, and I will be taking his introduction briefly. It's something you can't keep to yourself. So don't keep quiet, don't keep still. Share it with your friends and colleagues. Let them join on board. And yeah, let's have this fantastic sessions together. All right. So I'm seeing Monira J, that's from Lagos, Nigeria. Good to have you. Good to have you. Happiness Chuku. Good to have you. Dr. Ifeanyi from Asaba. All right. All the way from Asaba. Good to have you. All right. So Adetayo Olubumi from Lagos, Nigeria. That's Yaba College of Technology. Good to have you. Good to have you. Idowu Adeleke from Nasarawa. So it's exciting that we have different persons from different parts of the country joining us live on this broadcast. Okay, so we have someone else, okay, saying he's really excited to be a part of this webinar. He hopes to stay enlightened. You're welcome. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm going to give that thanks and shout out to our speaker, Mustafa. He's going to come on board shortly, and I'll be introducing him. So please feel free to share this stream. We have about 7 minutes to go live, like fully live now, whereby we're listening to a fantastic speaker. So please share it with your friends and colleagues, and let's have them on board. Dr. Odunayo Yibode, that's from Lautech, Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, Domosho. Good to have you. That's Oyo State, Nigeria. All right. So share it, share, like. Yeah, let's have as many persons join the stream. That's one of the ways you can support this, and get our speaker also excited, because a whole lot has gone into this. All right. So feel free as you join us to drop your name and location, and we'll be glad to welcome you. Afis Umar from Lovely Professional University in India. Wow. I don't believe this person came because of Mustafa. Good to have you. Good to have you. Good to have you. Excited to join this night. Good to have you. Good to have you. That's Humar. We give you a special welcome, and I'm excited to have you on board. Thank you. All right. So we're going to wait for the next 7 minutes while we expect others to join us on this broadcast. And yeah, so in the next 5 minutes or thereabout, I'm going to come on board to share about the speaker we have for tonight. He's a fantastic person. I've known him now for few months, yeah, but those few times that I've known him, I've discovered he's a fantastic person, a solid researcher. No, like very solid one. So it is someone we all need to listen to, and I can assure you, you're going to have a fantastic session with him tonight. So he'll be joining us shortly, and be sure to have a great time with our speaker tonight. He has had experience working with different top-notch organizations across board, in different continents. So having him join us tonight is a plus, and it's something I'm excited about. All right, so we'll be starting out shortly, and as you join us, just feel free to drop your name and location. Let's know where you are joining us from for this broadcast. Okay, Dr. Peter Olorun Mawaju Ajayi is joining from Asaba, Delta State. All right, good to have you too. Good to have you. Organa Emanuela from Asaba, Delta State. All right. So I'm excited to have every one of you on the call tonight. And we'll be heading straight to the presentation in the next 3 minutes while I introduce our guest and allow him to take the center stage for his presentation tonight. So as you join, just feel free, drop your name and location, and yeah, we'll be good to go. Thank you. Yeah, right. Okay. All right. Okay, so I have someone else here, Mr. Salegode from Adeyemi Federal University of Education in Ondo State, Nigeria. You're welcome. You're welcome. Afweb, welcome. Zainab Mohammed Mustafa from Bayero University, Kano. Good to have you too. You're welcome. So in the meantime, we have 2 minutes to go to the introduction of our guest. Please share this with your friends and colleagues. Let them join us right up in this presentation tonight. Yeah. All right. Okay. So I'm going to be sharing the experience I had earlier this week on a global AI in education group about the issues of assessment in the age of AI. You know, I didn't even know that would come up, you know, before coming up with this topic of discourse that we have this evening. And, you know, I discovered this happened to be an issue of growing concern, even among educators globally, you know, and there is a need to tackle this and learn from industry experts and experienced researchers that we have today. So generative the question came up. Okay, let me just head straight to that. This is 6:57. I think we can start out from here. So Hanifensi happened to be the director for the Center for Teaching and Learning, yeah, at the University of Maine. And she came up with a question to the closed group. He said, I'm trying to develop some guidance for some faculty on developing Gen AI resistant authentic assessment for asynchronous online courses. So it thought to check up with the group to see if there is anyone that had developed anything that could be used, you know, to actually bring up a resistant assessment techniques, you know, to generative artificial intelligence. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is timely. And we have many people coming up with different ideas and suggestions. Some felt, well, this is not possible. There's nothing you can do about that, especially for an educational situation whereby learners are not on ground. He said, the best you can do is to ensure that learners are in a closed environment, they are on ground, and you are monitoring them in real time to ensure they are not using Gen AI as an assistant technique. So one of the things that brought up the point of discourse for this presentation we're having tonight has to do with the dilemma in which we have educators, you know, in this age and time. We have educators who are struggling with the fact that students are actually using generative artificial intelligence to respond to questions. You know, teachers are in dilemma about what could be done with assessment, since most learners are using artificial intelligence as a cheating tool. Yeah, cheating tool now. It could be a teaching tool, but it's now a cheating tool. So how can assessment be redefined in the age of AI? So, and this actually happened to be the fulcrum of our discussion tonight, and the reason why we had to bring an industry expert to come and assist us with this kind of presentation. On the call tonight, I have Mustafa Syed Hassan, and I'm going to read his profile shortly. He happened to be an education technology advisor and researcher who specializes in the application of artificial intelligence in education policy and implementation. He has collaborated with different top-notch global EdTech organizations, with the likes of EdTech Hub. That's a global EdTech organization providing solutions to different problems that has to do with integration of technologies with education. He has also worked with Open Development Education and the Qatar Foundation, that's WISE AI in Education Testbeds, to assist ministries across Europe, Africa, Asia, and the Middle East in developing inclusive and responsive AI strategies. Its focus is on developing evidence-driven ethical AI solutions that empowers teachers, enhance learners' outcome, which aligns with national education vision. So he has several experiences. He has worked with EdTech Hub, and yeah, as you can see on his the screen is presenting. You can see he's also presenting from the George Mason University. That's to tell you he works also with George Mason University. That's in Washington. Then he has amazing followers and listeners across board. I respect him, and I must put that forth, yeah, because he's a solid researcher, and I appreciate I'm coming on board to join us in this session tonight. If you're excited to have Mustafa on the call with us tonight, can you just please give a thumbs up, share reactions? Let me see your thumbs up. Let me see your reactions about having Mustafa with us tonight. Can you please welcome him? Welcome him. Welcome, Mustafa. If you're excited to have Mustafa on the call with us tonight. All right, so Mustafa, you're very much welcome. I'm glad to have you, and I'm glad to host you on this special presentation tonight on assessment in the age of AI. And I'm sure all our listeners and viewers from across board are actually excited to also have you, on this call with us tonight. So if you're excited, please drop it in the chat and help me welcome Mustafa. Yeah, thank you. I can see the clap emoji. Help me welcome Mustafa as it takes on at the presentation this night. Yeah, thank you, Mustafa. You're very much welcome.
Thank you so much, Akinola, for a very generous introduction. And it's a pleasure to be among all of you. And I understand that it's quite late, especially in Sub-Saharan Africa region, in different countries. I'm based in Virginia in US, so it's midday. It's like 2 p.m. right now. So I really appreciate all of you carving their time out to have this conversation. I would really like this to be an interactive session. So because a lot of times I was talking to Akinola about that too, that we talk about all these, we see these things that are like more hyped up around AI, Gen AI, assessment, content generation, all those things. But we don't really get to have be in spaces where you can talk about like your worries and fears and hopes and dreams about these things. So I would love for us to have like a conversation. So you can use the chat feature to respond to questions, ask questions. I'll try to be as brief as I can because we all know like the gist of what assessment is and what AI is and what are the issues that we are dealing with. But at the same time, I also want to make sure that this presentation is inclusive. So I go through over like main concepts and what is going on in the in this field, and then I would love for you to ask questions around your practice and what are like your concerns. If you have any particular strategy that you're using that is helpful, please share with other people in the chat. Or if you have a question around something you want to try out, I'm welcome to share that as well. And I would love to talk about it and like help figure out it with you. So with that, let's jump into the formal part of the webinar. Akinola has been very generous in introducing me. My name is Syed Mustafa Hassan. I work as an instructional designer with OpenDevEd. I also am an analyst at EdTech Hub, which is a global consortium funded by World Bank, Gates Foundation, and a couple of other large philanthropic institutions. Within that, we have different streams around collecting evidence and looking at evidence for education and sort of what works and what doesn't work and how we can do things better and from a more informed perspective in terms of practice and policy. Within that, I'm part of the team with Akinola, which is called AI Observatory, where we are looking at the forefront of AI and how it's unfolding in the world of education, as well as providing customized on-demand services for countries that can request, solutions around policy, practice, technology support, all of those things. I'm also finishing up my PhD at George Mason University, and my research focuses use of AI in low to middle income countries, and how that manifests when you bring in the angle of multiple cultures, multiple languages, all those things, that makes it less than optimal solution at times. So with that, let's dive into the question that we all have been asking and are not getting very comprehensive answers to. So in the chat, I would love for you to share what excites or worries you most about AI in student assessments. And I see like a lot of you are from higher ed, which is amazing. But even if you are in K-12, what does that look like for you? Please feel free to share. Or if you're from policy or administration of a university or a state, any of those things, please feel free to share. As Akinol said, I work with a lot of ministries of education and higher education institutions across sub-Saharan Africa region, to come up with solutions, advice on policies of using edtech in general. And recently, it's been very focused on use of AI and what would be the ethical use and how we can benefit from that when English is not the only language we use in that region. So please feel free to drop your thoughts on what excites or worries you most about AI in student assessments. And I would love to see your responses around that. I'll give us a minute for us to like think about and write. And anyone who will, see the recording later, please feel free
Yeah.
to also write that down, like, on a piece of paper. Just so you can like get that out on outside, like all that sort of confusion and worries and or excitement about these about AI and how it's manifesting itself. Write that down. It helps clarify the thoughts as well, and then you also get a clarity on what is that really that is worrisome, or what is that you are excited about. And then once it's out there, then it helps make um, make it a little bit better for, or make more space for you to actually look at what like, is that true or not? Like if the worry is true, or is the excitement is, uh, true. So
Okay.
students are fond of using AI to do their assignments without editing the generated solution. This is not neat enough. Very fair. Very fair. Mm, While some of you are um, typing your responses, I'll go ahead and share a little bit more. And please keep your responses coming. And from time to time, I'll take a look and keep that, like incorporating that in my conversation with you. All right. So as one of you have shared that, people like students are just basically copy pasting, right? The question you ask the student, they ask the AI, and they get the answer, they copy it, put it as they wrote it, and they just share it. So does that, the question here is that the student's fault, or is it the assessment is not doing what it's supposed to do, right? So um, we all have been students, right? We all try to find the easiest way, and which is something nobody can really control, right? Like um, before AI, there were other ways of doing it. Like when Google came into play, like the search engine, teachers found that people were finding shortcuts with that. Then other tools came around, like people started making Cliff Notes, and other websites started selling the homeworks. And there's always something that is out there that is making it hard for us to assess a student, right? With Gen AI, the thing that is like, really bothering a lot of faculty is we cannot assess their abilities anymore. And that is where, we need to understand like what is the purpose of that assessment? Like, why do we even do assessments? So thinking about why do we have assessments as part of the overall educational system is because we want to see how much learning is happening, right? So with AI, if somebody can just copy paste something in a browser and get the results, then the learning would stop happening with that. So we have two choices, right? One, we can either try to change students, which according to psychology and behavior theory and all those things, very hard to do and takes a long time. Um, and the other thing is we reinvent the assessment in a way that would actually capture learning, but also in the other reason we do have has this assessments as part of our overall education system is so we can catch and support students who are vulnerable, who are not learning, who are at risk of either dropping out or going to the next grade or next semester or taking a higher advanced course when their basics and prerequisites are not really well sort of sunk in for them to build more knowledge on top. So let's begin with this important question that why do we want to rethink assessments, right? Um, so the reason you want to do that is because in traditional assessments, very focused on like they focus on like a standardized way of testing, and that comes from a place where we have less faculty, we have a lot of students. We want to make a way that would make it possible for us to do that assessment, right? So we have these standardized tests, and we have paper-based exams, and they're often designed for uniformity and simplicity because we want to have a way that we can give the same test to everyone, because one faculty member with every other responsibility they have cannot make personalized assessments for every single student. So there is that, right? However, with AI it's possible. You can do that sort of distinguished learning and distinguished assessment, differentiated assessment and differentiated learning, right? So in order for us to and why would you want that is because you need to understand that for the assessment is designed for growth. Like we want to see where the student is at so we can give them the resources so they can build their knowledge on and scaffold that knowledge and go to the next level versus seeing it uh, as something you can give, penalize the student or have them stay back in the semester or a year. We want to rethink what assessment does and why it's important to support students. So it's the change of sort of the angle of how we see assessment. So the way we want the assessment to work is to be flexible and that contributes to individual growth, right? These assessments, the regular, traditional assessments, provide feedback too late because, you are one faculty member, you do a quiz today, or you do a midterm exam today, or you do a final term exam today. It's going to take you a while to assess every single paper, and then you don't have enough time to give personalized feedback on every single thing that the student said or overall feedback. Even if you give it, it's going to be brief because, you have to be done with the assessment. You have to submit everything in time for them to have their grades up and all those things. So it's not easy. So it once they get that feedback, they are already passed to the next semester, or they are already move on to the next thing, and that feedback is not really useful because either they have failed the course or they have moved on to the next semester. So either way, they are not really going to get benefit of that feedback, even if we try to give it to them. Also, traditional assessments have human bias sometimes, right? And we all have our own biases. We all have our understanding of the content, of the style, of the culture, and not all of our learners are coming from the same um, you know style, culture, or language, and all those things. So there is a human bias that can come in when we are doing human, centered assessments, and also sometimes it's hard to like reflect the diversity of our students when we are assessing their responses, if it's like an essay question or if something that has that element of culture and diversity, or language. Not every student have the same level of proficiency in English and other languages that the assessment could be in. Meanwhile, the context of education is changing as well, right? So students are increasingly learning through hybrid formats. Our traditional model of, sage on the stage, professor delivering the content, the test being from that content, and then they moving on to the next semester. That is something that is not the case anymore. Our students are dynamic learners. They have online classes sometimes, they have hybrid classes, they have in-person classes, they're learning from the internet, they're going on to global LMS and repositories like Coursera and edX and Khan Academy, and YouTube, right? Like they're going everywhere, they're learning different things, and they're bringing all of that together to develop understanding. So the traditional module where we'd only had synchronous learning in person is changing. COVID also affected that a lot. Yeah, I think it changed the model forever, where in places where we never thought that online education or hybrid education were possible, we had to do it, right? We didn't do it well because it kind of just got forced on us, with the global pandemic. But now we have the capacity to actually do it better. And what does assessment look like in this modern time when our students are also very dynamic and non-stationary learners? So thinking about all those things, AI does provide us some opportunities there, and it's on us to like explore the good parts and protect ourselves from the bad parts, right? AI is just a tool. It's not intrinsically evil, and it's not intrinsically good. It is up to us to understand where do we find the opportunity, and we can exploit that opportunity, and where is the risk where we can safeguard ourselves and our students from that. Um, So looking at the key trends, AI is evolving. It's pretty new. The generative part is pretty new. The traditional AI, artificial intelligence, language processing, and other aspects, the non-generative AI parts, have been around for a while. So some technologies are well developed. Some are, in the development and evolving phase. But when we say AI, we kind of like just look at generative AI, but there is more to that, right? And people like Akinola and other who have degrees in computer science and who are practitioners, they can appreciate that more. But for our professors who are not very focused on technology per se, or they don't teach technology courses, for them AI is this one umbrella term that we use for anything that is generative or that is like predictive, which is fair, right? Like not we all cannot be experts in everything, but for us to understand, what is going on in the field right now is very important. So we can benefit from what is out there right now. So when we look at the trends here, I'm going to focus on just four key trends that are coming up and are also commercially available. So the first one is automated grading of tools using natural language processing and machine learning. So in the past, when you would have an essay question or a short answer question, or some professors, prefer to have students like share their thoughts through discussion forum on LMS. now we have tools that can summarize or assess and analyze those pieces of writing using different technologies. So that is something that most LMS, enterprise editions that are available, Canvas, Moodle, other those two are like I'm most familiar with, and I help a lot of faculty members like set up and integrate AI modules with. And those are like, kind of like more famous as well. But most LMSs have AI features to some extent. Either they are kind of bringing in a third-party AI module to it or a feature to it, and they integrate it, or the developer of the LMS is designing those interests and like providing it as part of the enterprise package. So those are something that are coming up. Also, they help in coding a lot. So in the past, you had to like run the code for each person in your mind. The people who are familiar with coding or teach coding, we call it dry run, like dry running the code. So faculty had to like go through each step in their mind while they're assessing the exams. Now there are tools that can just do it for you. That is something that is coming up. These kind of tools significantly reduce grading time and offer consistency, but still need human oversight to ensure fairness. Because if you give them a standard prompt for analyzing any piece of response from students, whether it be a short answer or a code or anything like that, there are always biases in the system itself. So it can do a quick feedback. It could give you a quick turnaround, but it's always important for you as a human in the loop of that feedback to ensure that it's fair and it's correct. It does make it easier, because if you have to like go through all of it yourself, it takes longer. And when you give feedback too long, it's not very effective. We know that from research and we know that from practice, right? So if we generate these feedbacks through automated tools that are already included in our LMSs that we use for our universities, it is helpful. And we can always, reviewing is always easier than creating. So you can review those answers, see if there is anything that is not right. You can change the prompt of asking for that review, or if it's just one or two hallucinations within the responses, you can fix those and pass that feedback on to the students. Secondly, adaptive test systems dynamically adjust questions difficulty based on learner performance. That is where we are not using assessment as a way to evaluate the student and penalize them if they are not at that same level, versus using assessment as a way to diagnose and support. So if we want to use assessment creation as a whole research, I would say used to be a whole research, branch in educational research, and our AI tools can generate assessment questions for us. It could be as simple as creating multiple choice questions that you can have at the start of your lecture to understand like where your students lie, and then you teach your content, and then you can have a post within the same class. Like it could be a 5-minute thing, 3-minute thing, few questions, just to gauge where the student is, right? And if so, that could be like a traditional, lecture, in person or hybrid, or online sort of, modality. Another way is having that sort of built into the LMS. So when you have included that feature in your LMS, the quiz becomes dynamic. So if a person answers one of the questions, the next question becomes a little bit more difficult to see if they have the next level of understanding, or the question can focus on the misconceptions within the topic. So that is very hard to do for a professor for every student, right? But if you write a prompt, that can do that for each student, so then each student gets a customized set of questions that are building on the responses before. So that helps see where like how clear the concept is and where can they go next to learn. Maybe there's a module that they were going to learn that was redundant for them. They already understood, or they self-studied, or learned it somewhere else. So then they don't have to go through it again. They can just skip that based on the assessment that they got, um, to see like if they have that basic understanding of that concept or not. The third thing that we are seeing as a trend is predictive analytics that can identify students at risk by analyzing LMS data. So that is not just looking at the responses of the teachers, but also combining it with their overall demographic information, their grades in previous semesters or classes, or in other classes, and then combining all those pieces of information we have about a student to see where they lie. For example, if a student is, their GPA is low, they're taking your class, and maybe like quarter semester in, they are already struggling. You can see that from the predictive quizzes that you're adding to their LMSs, and you can see their student is not gonna be able to pass that course. But if they don't pass your course, they might drop out because their GPA is too low. So something like that, if it can be diagnosed early on, then that student can be counseled into like dropping that course, taking something else, or they, if they need more support, they can ask for that support is available in the university system, or whatever that looks like. But if that is not diagnosed, it would be too late for like, for the student to wait till the end of the semester to see if they were supposed to take that course, or how it's gonna affect their overall degree program, and other things. So with AI, we can analyze those things without a lot of effort from the teacher. And teachers don't have to be experts in data analytics, because with AI, predictive AI, it helps. It kind of like makes a dashboard and gives you what you need to see versus you going through the analysis part for yourself. And lastly, AI-generated feedback offers continuous targeted guidance, improving the learning outcomes. So when we are looking at the feedback can also be targeted on the areas that they are struggling with. So it doesn't have to be a generic, this was good, this was bad, but it can also look at if something that they are struggling with as a whole class, or as a particular like individual student, what resources can be recommended to them using AI. So that assessment is not just assessment, but it's also a sort of like a personal co-pilot or a tutoring system that can give them and support them with resources. And all of that is becoming easier to integrate just because those are provided by the LMS that you use already. So exploring that yourself, exploring that with your administrators, exploring that with your IT department, seeing what is already out there but not sort of adapted by the university, uh, and and then like working with those pieces, like having administration on your side, that is willing to support your exploration, and then working with the IT department to ensure that all those options are enabled or added or integrated to your LMS, and then also having some trainings around. So universities are operates differently. At George Mason, we have a dedicated department. It's called Stern Center for Teaching and Learning, that is in charge of the pedagogical and technological trainings for teachers. If they want to turn their course into an online course, they work with them to support that effort. But other universities might not have that. So then exploring what do you need, like do some champion professors who are already really good at that want to become mentors for other faculty member, or do you have resources as a university to create a center that focuses on exploring these options and making sure there are policies around and there are practices around. Because if there is no policy and there is no sort of process in place, then everything is a fair game. And that is what we are seeing and facing. Universities are reluctant to create policies, or they are focusing on other things, or the policy, once they have a policy out, it's not comprehensive enough. So when people do bad research as a faculty, or students do copy and paste things in assessments, you can't really um, you can't really penalize that because they're not violating anything that was because there was nothing existed to violate. So having resources dedicated around having like good policy and governance around AI and support as well. So there's sometimes we do bad, you use AI badly because we don't have support or guidance on how to use it well in ethical ways, because it is a great tool. But at the same time, it's just a tool, right? So if nobody really shows you how to use it well, then if you use it badly, it's not your fault or the student fault. So having that understanding that we have to come together as a community of researchers, practitioners, and administrators to support these is very important. So moving on to some of the benefits, in addition to what I've already mentioned, so all the people who are listening, if you are from a school, you have big classroom, big class sizes, more students in classes, or if you're teaching undergrad courses, I know at George Mason, sometimes I see hundreds of students like sign up for the same class, and the faculty member has a huge hall they're teaching. It gets really hard to grade and assess and provide feedback, right? So for large courses, especially very important to give them feedback fast, so then they can learn from it, they can go back, revisit resources that they need to revisit, all those things. So it does have a substantial benefit when you're teaching large courses. Real-time and personalized feedback, it enables feedback loops that help students track their learning progress in real time. So, you can be as fast as during or after the session. Put a quiz, put a short quiz right after on the LMS or on the screen or whatever that looks like for you. And you can give them personal feedback, or AI can give them personal feedback on your behalf. So then they can go back and revisit. You can have, and I've used AI to create assessments as well. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. The idea is to create enough, and then you can select questions that make sense to you, and then embed them in the LMS in the regular way, how you usually use it, or make a Google form out of it, and then see where your overall students are standing. So if today I had 3 learning objectives, and I do a Google form at the start to see what understanding they have initially. Then I teach my course. Then I, used AI to create questions around, like, what questions a person can answer if they have achieved those learning outcomes and learning objectives. I do another Google form, 3-minute, 5-minute Google form with questions. And then I look at how many students got the concept. If they didn't, then I know that the course the session wasn't effective for whatever reason. It doesn't mean you are a bad teacher. It might be they didn't really understand the prerequisites they needed to build that concept on it, or maybe the room was too hot, or they came hungry. Like there are so many reasons that could distract a student from the actual concept. But what you can do with that information is you can provide alternate resources, any videos, any research papers, whatever other modalities of content that you can share. So then on their own time, they can review and learn when other things are working out for them. And at their own pace. So that is something that I've used and I found it effective. And the faculty that I work with, they have also found it very effective. In researchy term, we call it formative feedback. People who are more, engaged with pedagogy and those kind of things, they know that like instant feedback, instead of like waiting for midterm and final term, you have these loops built in that will give you a better picture of where your students stand. It also contributes inconsistency by minimizing subjective variation between human graders. So, for large scale grading, if you have sometime, if it's a large class, you might have a teacher assistant who is grading your papers. So if you have multiple, like 2 teacher assistants, they are grading it differently and they're giving different feedback. And that makes it inconsistent for the students to see what they need to learn and how they need to learn. So if you have, AI as your co-pilot, that can give a more consistent feedback based on the parameters you have set. And it like checks those parameters and then can give feedbacks based on that. It's also helps educators identify learning gaps early, paving the way for targeted intervention and support. So having that, sort of your finger on the pulse of the student really helps. So then, because at the end of the day, we all want our students to succeed and, progress and learn. And if we can use the idea of assessment as something of a support, um, that is the objective, right? We like nobody really enjoys, maybe some people, but most people don't enjoy failing a student or telling the student they are not good enough. So how do we make sure that we use assessment as a tool to support them early on, so we don't have to do that. We don't have to like crush their dreams or have them stay behind or not learn in this semester. And then if this semester was a prerequisite of next semesters to build like their higher, advanced concepts, then they suffer for the rest of their degree. And all of us who have gone through higher education in undergrad or masters or wherever level, we have seen why prerequisites are important. Because sometime if you're not good at like your prerequisites, you can try your hardest, but you're just not going to succeed. And these assessments as pre-assessments can also help us understand when we receive a student in our class, what did they learn and what they didn't learn in the previous semester. And then we can do some remedial programming with them early on, so then we can give them the concept they will definitely need in our semester. So that really helps in that sense as well, to have instant feedback, runtime, real-time feedback, without a lot of effort. Because if you want to do it manually, it's very hard to create all the questions, analyze all the data, write your feedback, provide that feedback to every student, and then based on the analytical information you got about the student, find resources for them on your own. You just cannot do that, right? Like, so your job is to teach. So if these tools can give you a better, like take some of that, that, you know, that burden off of you, it helps in that sense. Um, okay, moving on. Um, this also, as I said, like, this is a tool and it also comes with its own risks. So there's always going to be biases in algorithms and data sets. So the tool is, as good as the data it's trained on. So ensuring that any tool that we use, it's hopefully homegrown or is trained on the data that that is homegrown or organically created in our own education systems or our countries, to ensure that it's aligned with our social norms, cultural norms, religious norms, all those things that are important for our region. So keeping an eye on that is important, and that's on the institutional level, right? I wouldn't say it's as a faculty member you have to be constantly like worried about that. That is a responsibility that institution should take, and you should hold that institution accountable for. Also, over reliance on AI can de-skill teachers. So teachers' job is not to monitor, it's also to mentor. So you shouldn't just looking at a dashboard all the time and like, oh, this data is coming in and AI is going to just recommend resources. I'm just here to just look at all this process. That's not the objective. The objective is the AI to support you in giving that personalized feedback, so then you can be a better teacher and a better mentor to the students. Data privacy and student surveillance is a big thing. If the teachers are not really understanding like what data privacy is, they cannot deliver it well to the students, so that then students can share the data they shouldn't be sharing with the AI. Or you might like upload something that you shouldn't be, like might be some sensitive information about the students, and stuff like that. So having that understanding, or having that institutional understanding of what data privacy looks like for you is very important. And also integrity and AI misuse, that we started with that. Some people just use it for copy paste and sort of getting through the degree, which is hard, which is not the purpose of any of that. when we talk about the integrity, tools like Turnitin, like that are integrated in a lot of our LMSs, they don't really do a good job, especially if English is not your first language. Because if research says if English is not your first language, you do write more mechanical than a native speaker, right? So if you are looking at the mechanics of the language which AI uses to sort of write for you, it will detect your writing as AI because you write differently than a native speaker, and a lot of that comes from that. So these tools are not really good at detecting, if it's AI generated or human generated. So uh, instead of like trying to catch students, we should redesign our assessments and look at other ways of assessing. So it does not always have to be a paper. It could also be a presentation. It could also be a podcast. I can ask my student to make a podcast on topic, or give a presentation, or do an oral exam, right? Or make a play out of it or a song out of it. Like, depending on what you're teaching, it could be more creative than just, regular presentations. And that is where it's also very important for you to be AI literate. So you know what you can and should do and what you can't and shouldn't do with AI. And then you can transfer that information to your students as well. And also like redesign the assessment, not having big chunks of assessment of 40% of your grade depends on your final exam, which you can just fail because you weren't feeling well that day or you were very nervous to give the exam, versus distributing and designing it in a way that students can actually learn and grow from that. There are some case studies, but I'm gonna skip over that because those are very generic. They are basically the implementation of what I've been talking about. Some ethical considerations, transparency in AI scoring. If you're using AI, be transparent with your students that you're using it and how you're using it, so they know there's an ethical way of usage. Um, Inclusive design is very important, where when you design assessments, you ensure that the linguistic part is taken care of, cultural and ability backgrounds are considered. So if you are a professor with very good English, and your students are not, and you know where they're coming from, that shouldn't be the point. If you're not teaching English, right, if you're teaching math or science, you shouldn't deduct marks on that, and your AI system, it shouldn't deduct marks on that. And like all like culture is very important. Like if there is any cultural constraints that you need to teach your AI to be mindful of when it's giving feedback or analyzing anything, that's very important. And also consent and student rights are very important. You make sure that you design systems where students, if they don't feel comfortable sharing anything with AI, they can opt out of that. It shouldn't be a blanket policy that you're using or not using AI. So giving alternatives is very important. This is more for like policy people, whoever is watching that is part of that or can get this through, is we should invest in our faculty to make sure that they have AI literacy. We should always have a human in the loop who is like watching and seeing like what is being shared by the students that is generated by AI, to make sure that it's aligned. We should try to use AI for more formative feedback loops versus doing like summative assessments, because that is what the purpose is, to run like real-time feedback so we can support our students. And also we should have guidelines for ethical AI use in assessments, and which are shared with the faculty and the students, so there is no surprises when it comes to that. So in the future, what we are seeing is assessments should be ongoing dialogue and not just like these few instances. And we should give greater agency to our students and how they demonstrate learning by giving them multiple modes of assessments. We can use AI to create rubrics, scaffolds, and real-time guidance that they can use in order to create those assessment paths for themselves, and also use AI as co-pilot for learners and educators. That is something that we can see coming up. So with that, I thank you all for your time, and um, there's my email and my LinkedIn if you have any questions, if you need any kind of support in that, happy to support. And please feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I share a lot of like research from our developing countries, and what's going on in AI, and how we can make sure we safeguard ourselves from like the bad, and do more what is good. So thank you.
Thank you, Mustafa. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Amazing and fantastic presentation. While you were taking the shots, I was just like, wow, this is awesome. And in the process, I actually put up a few questions. I've been thinking, this is Nigeria, Sub-Saharan Africa, and we have many educators, faculties, professors, lecturers, teachers now, who actually saying, I saw a post on the chat, and that reminded me of something, that this is Nigeria. We hardly have AI adoption, in our tech institutions, or even secondary primary institutions. So how do we then adopt AI? How do we draft AI policies? And you mentioned something during your presentation. You said, if there is no policy to govern the use of AI, then you can't pick students up for using AI. So it means nobody can actually say, okay, this student is actually cheating at this point, because there's no policy guiding that. There's no law behind
Yeah.
the use of AI. And there are not even enough teacher training systems that can teach educators on the proper ethical use of AI. A post went around, I think that was in one of the universities in the US recently, whereby a student said the prof was using AI and they should refund our money, for that particular course. So what if we have something similar to this in developing nations, whereby students, and that's the truth, we have many faculties, educators, lecturers alike, who uses AI, no cap around that. But there are not enough policies with respect to the integration of AI in education. What can be done? Then you've also talked about the issue of assessment in the age of AI. How best can educators in developing nations now adopt the design of what's it called, assessment, to ensure that students are properly assessed in this age of AI? There's no doubt about it. About 90% of students are actually using AI to prompt whatever questions their lecturers give to them. So how best can educators adopt AI in assessment and ensure that students are properly assessed, in developing nations? A case study of Nigeria. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Aginola. And that's a big question, right? Like to unpack in terms of like it really depends on like which sort of level we are talking about. So if we talk about higher education, there are different institutions that can come together. So I know in Pakistan there is a regulatory body for all the universities called Higher Education Commission of Pakistan, right? So if there is a commission that like oversees the accreditation of the universities and sort of regulation of the universities or funding of the universities, those could be the institutions that can take the lead in creating those kind of policies, because that way you can enforce that policy. And of course, when it comes to policy, it should always be driven by the user, and in this case the users is the students and the faculty. So co-creation process is very important when it comes to policy making. You can look at user cases, you can do a needs analysis with the faculty, see what are the pain points, what are they seeing in their students, and they are very aware of like what their students are doing and what does faculty can do, right? So getting that input from the faculty, doing a thorough need analysis, and once you have all the data points of like what is happening, then you will have a baseline of what is ethical and what is not ethical, right? And then you decide like the ethical practices. How do we ensure that university supports that? For example, if ChatGPT is a general tool that I don't want to give access to all my faculty, but AI is useful, is there any other provider that I can contact that can give me a tool that will have less of an open-ended large language model that will give me more focused information for my research, for my assessment design, for all those things. If it's focused on a particular subject, if it's focused on a particular grade, depending on that. So that is like one thing that you can like institutions can do. Faculty, what like baseline thing, what faculty can do every time, every semester when it starts, most faculty could provide a syllabus to their students. So in that
Okay.
syllabus, you can add an AI policy section. So that could be
Okay.
something that you can enforce for your class. So because we know policy when it comes to like institutional policy or national policy, it's a long process, and sometimes it takes like months to years for people to come up with policymakers to come up with a good policy, and it goes through a lot of revisions. But what you
Yes.
can instantly do is
Sorry.
provide.
Yeah, sorry, Mustafa. Just on that issue of policy, before you go on. Now, for
Yeah,
policies that are to be adopted, especially for developing nations, I said a case study of Nigeria now.
yeah.
So should it be the policy on disclosure, whereby students are saying, wow, I made use of AI for my assignment, or policies governing students not to use AI or to use it for certain things?
Yeah.
Yeah, so how do you think, what's the best practice on that?
Yeah, so the best practice highly depends on what subject that is being taught, right? So, for example, if I am teaching English, and I have essay questions, my policy is don't use AI to create text, right? But if I am teaching storytelling, or if I'm teaching some creative arts, then if somebody is writing that English just because English is not their first language and they're trying to explain a concept, like let's say I'm teaching science, and the person understands the science in their native language or all the languages that are spoken in Nigeria, right? But they are not very confident about their English. So as a faculty, I have a choice to say, explain the concept to me. If you want to use a tool that is AI to make sure your grammar is right, or it's using you to polish your language a little bit, that is okay. But you cannot use AI for the concept itself. Or if something that, if the assignment is to create, if it's an arts class and they are creating images, you can come up with creative ways of using AI as part of the process of making the output, right? That could be one way. The other way is you can teach your students how to use ethically the AI. So if I'm writing, right, again, if it's the writing concept, writing class, I can either use it as like, no AI, just write what you write and I'll assess it for you. Or you can say, give a prompt, do this with AI, and then go verify if the AI is giving you the right information, if it's citing the right sources, if it's collecting the right information, and then write your own piece and see how it would be different, and do some critical thinking on both pieces. So depending on what the subject is, you can use creative ways to develop more critical thinking and
Okay.
skills that will make them see how AI generated output is not the best, and what you can add to it, or why you should do your own thing because AI is not going to give you the right information. And it becomes more significant when we talk about localization. So if it's a social sciences class and you're talking about local politics, there is not enough data that was in the AI model to train it for. So then your information on your lived experience would be more important. So it is contextual. So that is why having committees that can come together to solve those problems together is very important.
All right. Thank you so much, Mustafa. And one last thing from me on this, we have institutions in Nigeria. Yeah, I got a report of one, not even one, there are many. And I would like people to respond in the chat. If your institution uses Turnitin AI plagiarism checker, to detect if students actually use AI to write their thesis. Of a truth, we have students using AI to write their thesis. They are either undergrad thesis, master's or PhD thesis. But there's something we've got to take note of as educators. Well, this platform is actually meant to be an enlightenment platform for educators where we come together to learn and become better at what we do. Now, if institutions are adopting AI checkers, AI detectors, we've got to be very, very careful. I remembered something I read from research about Vanderbilt University while they banned the use of AI detection software because it was actually affecting the emotional stability of their students. If a student writes something, the AI detects it as AI generated. Now, there's a report here that I have in front of me over here that zero GPT seems detected that 94% of the US Constitution was AI generated. Do we have AI when the US Constitution was drafted? You know, so all these things should actually bring up growing concerns among educators and administrators alike, because by the time you sit up and you feel you pass students right up through AI detectors, and in the process, those students didn't use AI detection, AI to generate those content. Good number of them might not use AI.
Yeah.
So how do you then build what's it called now, confidence in those students and not push them to the wall, because it's actually frustrating. A case study, Mustafa, something happened recently, and that guy gave the job, he gave the write-up as a contract to a faculty in an institution to help him with it. That guy, that faculty, that lecturer now sat with it and rewrote everything for the student. When he took it into the Turnitin AI detector, it detected it also. The percentage increased. You understand? As AI generated. Whereas the lecturer actually drafted that himself. So I think that's where educators need to be very careful in the use of AI detection software. For me, I believe if companies like OpenAI didn't bring out any AI detection software, I see no reason why any educator will want to believe Turnitin AI detection software. You know, sorry. Yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add to this, because for me, I believe it's more
I agree with that.
purpose.
I absolutely agree with that. And in the presentation, I was also hearing that the reason the more technical writing or more mechanical writing, it will always detect as an AI, because that's what it thinks, AI does, is like make it more mechanical. And, as you mentioned Nigeria, and in general, all the countries where English is not, the first language of most people, when you learn English as a second language or a third language, it becomes more mechanical by the virtue of it. If you're not living in an English-speaking country, you are not learning a lot of those norms and things. So then your language is a little bit more mechanical, and that is where we have to understand that what are the assessments that don't need to be in writing, right? So how can we re-envision that assessment, or we can make that as part of a process, so it doesn't have to be like one big thesis. How do we break it down and then have it in a way that faculty is more engaged with the process and the students more engaged with the process and not the final outcome? So if it's a co-creation process, and if I, for example, research, if I'm doing research and I have these portfolio system where I'm checking with the students in different stages of the research, I could see how they're progressing. Even if they're using AI for ideation or other things, that's okay, as long as they are creating original research and they're presenting that research and they're bringing it out, as an output. So that is where also it becomes more significant of what is the role we want AI to play and what do we deem as ethical. So if it is the practices that are ethical within that process, they have to be explicitly mentioned so people don't feel, as you said, more burdened and in the fear of are they using AI in the right way or not, or should they use it or not? Because it is the digital gap is going to increase because of AI, right? People who can use AI well, they are going to replace people who don't know how to use AI, right? AI is not going to replace everyone, but people who knows how to use AI will replace people who don't know how to use AI well. So I think that would be my final comment, is we have to be really mindful of what we deem ethical, and then ensuring that students and faculty is on the same page about that.
All right. Thank you so much, Mustafa. I have a question in the chat here, and afterwards I'll be sharing a tool that can actually help educators in developing nations, specifically Nigeria now, on how to carry out assessment. And some persons are asking Mustafa if probably they can have access to your presentation. I don't know if that's a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I can send that to you. Yeah.
All right, that's good. So now a question is there, said in cases where a student uses AI generated content and successfully humanizes it to appear original, how can educators effectively assess the student's actual understanding and contribution? I will leave this to Mustafa, but that is part of the reasons why assessment needs to be redefined. Yes, you can't do assessment as usual. We need to redefine assessment. Yeah, Mustafa, I believe you have something to add to that.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what you said, I think that is where we have to say, why are we giving this essay? Like, what was our intention to, like, what were we trying to assess when we gave this essay question, right? So, if we are trying to gauge their understanding, if I, for example, give a essay on, how Nigeria was founded, or the history of Nigeria, or the culture of Nigeria, right? I can give an essay, or I can ask the person to give a presentation around it. Even if they use the AI for creating the presentation or having prompts or whatever, while they are presenting, it is going to make it, they are going to learn in that process. So, or if, they can create a podcast around it, or they can create a video, blog, like they can create a webinar around it, right? And so we have to like rethink what those assessments are for. And if there is writing is an absolutely necessary part of it, how can we break it down in a way that people can ethically use AI but still produce their own thoughts, and like add those thoughts in there, and then become part of the process. So then the use of AI is not overshadowing their own original thinking, and that critical element is there. And it is very right now it's easy because in our cultures, like sub-Saharan Africa and other places where the language is not English and the culture is not the dominant culture of AI trained data, right? um, AI hallucinates a lot. So then if we ask more critical questions from our students, AI is not as helpful right now. So it's the idea is to ask the right questions and provide the right sort of assessment tools for the students. And then some of the times the reason students are using it to copy paste and do all those things is because they see assessment as a tool to be afraid of, right? As a way for teacher to enforce discipline, tell them what they don't know. Versus if
Mm,
they see it as a tool that is, if they do it, with honesty, the teacher will be able to help them. We have to focus on that.
mm.
We have to show why having these assessments, like what is the importance of assessments, and then also using them in the right way, providing the feedback in real time so that students can see and they can also feel fulfilled by learning something versus just breezing through the university experience.
Right. Thank you so much, Mustafa. And yeah, because of our time, this is 8:01. I'm supposed to stop this at 8 o'clock. We've spent more than an hour on this. So there is a tool we'll be sharing with you, and we'll be having a subsequent webinar whereby we have hands-on exposure to the integration of to assessments in the age of AI. We're talking about to walking you through the possibility of developing AI-resistant pedagogy, like AI-resistant assessments, to see ways in which you can practically redefine your assessment in this age of AI. But let me add this. This is what distinguishes lazy faculties now, lazy lecturers and serious studious lecturers. And Mustafa, I'm going to add this also. In Nigeria, when you look at the payment or sub-Saharan Africa, someone had put it forth that lecturers are not appreciated. And that is the truth. I must be honest with you. When I talk about lecturers now, they fall within the category of the least paid. You understand? In sub-Saharan Africa. Well, I'm not going to blame them so much. I want to assume probably that's one of the reasons why some of them are not motivated to actually give their best to this course. You said something during the course of your presentation that faculties now, lecturers, educators are meant to act as mentors, not monitors. That was awesome, Mustafa. And this is actually lacking in our educational system. We have very few faculties, lecturers who are actually acting as mentors to their students. and not monitors. Yes, and that's very important. Please, everyone joining us on this broadcast tonight, the goal of this, I've always said it, is to ensure that we have a redefined educational system in Nigeria. I want every one of us to give this our best. Please, it might not be easy. It might not be easy, but please give this your best. Develop the students, mentor them, monitor them, inspire them. Let them see you as their role model. Yes, in the institution where you lead, where you teach, where you lecture. Let them see you as someone they can look up to. Inspire them. Don't be a monitor. Be a mentor. Yes. Then don't be. There's this particular is it sweet now? That is very, very not the other mentor now, whereby you are pepperish to them. Be empathetic. Yeah, that's the word. That's the word. That's the word. Be empathetic. Be a lecturer. Be a faculty that is concerned about the growth and the development of your students. And I believe, distance time, we're going to have a fantastic educational system in sub-Saharan Africa. That's the goal. That's the goal. That's my personal desire, to ensure that we have better education system and we have better education delivery, in sub-Saharan Africa. Of a truth, you might be saying government are not encouraging, but please, can we also do our best, at a point of service? Yes, at your POS, do your best. Give your best, inspire the students, and let them have a better future. I believe together we can make education great again in Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa. Can we please give a wonderful clap and beautiful emojis to Mustafa for joining us on this call tonight. Mustafa, I want to especially appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today. I believe probably in no distant time, if we have any other thing we would like you to come on board to share, you'll be willing to share that with us. Thank you so much,
Absolutely.
Mustafa. Amazing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Akinola, for having me, and thank you everyone for engaging. I was monitoring the chat and really appreciate all your comments and questions.
Yeah, thank you so much. So do have a fantastic rest of your day. All right, so this is where we're going to end this presentation tonight. I will send the resources I made mention of as a communication alongside with the one Mustafa will send about this presentation to every person that participated in this. I believe we have your data already, so we're going to share that with you and let you have access to this for free. So I will be having another session in August. We'll be having another session in August, and that will be on grant writing. So we have that on the 13th of August. Please get set, get prepared for it. 13th of August, we'll be having another fantastic speaker that will come on board to take us through the possibility of winning grants. I believe this is what will help educators, just to buttress on what I shared briefly, Mr. Mustafa, that we have many educators who are not well paid. Not even many, that's the way it is, yes. The average salary of a professor in Nigeria is about $300, in a month. $300 in a month, about 300. A professor now, that's the highest rank now. In Nigeria, it's about $300. So there's a need for faculties to actually look elsewhere. Winning grants, yes, I believe a number of you are interested in that. There's a need to actually win grants. So we'll be talking about grant writing in August, and I look forward to the possibility of having someone also in no-distance time from EdTech Hub who can also help, probably to take these wonderful faculties through the possibility of winning grants, from organizations like R4D, EdTech Hub, and HUD, to ensure that they can be better positioned in the financial market. Thank you so much, Mustafa. We've got to draw the curtain here, and do have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye, everyone.